Thanks for tuning in to your daily dose of quick real estate updates, local housing trends, and market data, plus tips, tools, and strategies to help you buy, rent, or invest with confidence. You're now getting ready with RealiCare Reports, powered by the innovation team, Cami and Rex. Now go grab your favorite morning breakfast, coffee or tea, and let's enjoy today's episode.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack complex topics, give you the insights you really need. Okay, picture this. You're a landlord, maybe trying to get urgent pest control sorted out, or maybe you're a tenant, waiting kind of anxiously for your security deposit back. For a long time, official communication, it often felt like this slow, paper-based shuffle, right?
Definitely.
Well, that's actually about to change pretty significantly in Florida. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Florida Senate Bill 1164. It's a legislative update, basically dragging landlord-tenant communications into the 21st century. It's set to take effect July 1st, 2025.
Yeah, and it's a big one.
It really is. This isn't just some minor adjustment. This bill fundamentally changes how official notices get delivered. We're talking everything from security deposits, maintenance stuff, even those really critical lease termination notices.
Absolutely. All the key communications.
It's designed, I think, to streamline things, make them faster, but it also brings a whole new set of rules, responsibilities for everyone involved, landlords and tenants.
And that's exactly why it's so important to get into the weeds on this. The goal is definitely faster, more transparent communication. That's the idea. But and this is the key thing, it introduces this critical layer of digital vigilance, you could say. Both landlords and tenants, they're going to need to be much more aware, much more attentive to how they manage their emails, their digital communications moving forward.
Right. So what does this digital leap actually mean in practice? Let's unpack this. Let's get into the core changes from SB 1164. Okay, the biggest news, the headline that probably grabs everyone first. Official notices can now be sent by email. But is it really just a case of hitting send? Is Florida just saying, go ahead, email away? Or, what's the catch?
There's definitely a catch. It's not that simple at all. And that's maybe the most crucial thing to understand right off the bat. Email delivery under this new bill, it's completely optional. It's not automatic.
Okay.
It requires mutual explicit agreement. Both the landlord and the tenant have to specifically agree to it. And to make that agreement legally solid, you need a specific addendum to the rental agreement. It's not just like a quick email saying, okay.
An actual document.
Yes, a formal addendum. It even spells out exactly what needs to be in it. Check boxes for landlord election and tenant election.
Right.
Each person has to check that box, agreeing to get notices by email and provide a valid email address just for that purpose. So, without that specific signed addendum, email is absolutely not a valid way to send official notices under this law. It's all about that conscious, documented consent.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So it's not like some default setting that just clicks on for everyone July 1st. You have to opt in, basically.
Exactly. Opt in is a good way to put it.
But life happens, right? What if someone changes their mind later or, gets a new email address? Is there flexibility built in for that?
Yes, absolutely. The bill accounts for that. A party can revoke their agreement to email delivery anytime they want.
Okay.
They just need to give written notice to the other party, snail mail or another agreed-upon written method. That revocation kicks in once the notice is delivered. But, and this is important, revoking doesn't cancel out any notices that were already properly sent by email before the revocation took effect. Those still count.
Got it. So it's forward-looking only.
Right. And similarly, if you need to update your email address, maybe you change providers or something, you just give written notice to the other party with the new address. That update also takes effect once the written notice is delivered. So there are clear procedures for opting out or just keeping your contact info current.
Okay, so we've covered the agreement, the opting out, the updating. But here's the classic email problem, isn't it? How do you know if it was actually received? How does the bill handle that? The whole, I never got that email scenario.
Right, the digital black hole concern. Well, what's fascinating here is the introduction of a deemed delivered rule.
Deemed delivered.
Yeah, a notice sent electronically, following all the rules we just discussed, is deemed delivered at the time it is sent.
At the time it's sent, wow.
Unless the email is returned to the sender as undeliverable, like a bounce back message.
Okay, so the burden is on the sender then.
Precisely. This is a really significant shift. It puts the burden of proof squarely on the sender. It means, say, a landlord can't just hit send and assume it's done. They become, in effect, their own digital mail clerk. They must keep a copy of the notice they sent electronically, and they must keep evidence of the transmission. Proof it was sent.
Evidence of transmission, like what, server logs or...
It could be various things. The law doesn't specify the exact format, but yes, something that shows the email left their system and crucially wasn't immediately rejected or bounced back. It's a new layer of digital record keeping. Compliance is key.
So it's not just about convenience, it's about meticulous record keeping.
Absolutely. Digital diligence, you might call it.
And just to be super clear, this email option, it's another way to send notices, right? It doesn't replace certified mail or hand delivery or the other existing methods.
Correct. It's an additional option. Think of it as adding, an express lane to the existing communication highway. The old lanes are still open.
Okay, good clarification. So we've got the foundation now, this new section 83.505, setting up the email rules. Now let's talk about how this plugs into the rest of Florida's landlord-tenant law. So what does this all mean in practice? Where will we actually see this email option being used? What are the key areas that affect, you listening?
Right, the conforming changes. Where does this new tool actually apply?
Let's start with probably one of the most common friction points, security deposits, section 83.49. How does email change things there?
Okay, security deposits. This is a big one. So first, landlords can now use email for that initial written notice they have to give tenants about how the deposit or any advance rent is being held. Which bank, is it commingled, etc.
Okay, the initial disclosure.
Yes, but maybe even more importantly, the required disclosure statement that landlords give tenants. It's been updated. It now explicitly lists email in accordance with Section 83.505 Florida statutes as a valid way for the landlord to send that really critical notice of intent to impose a claim against the deposit.
Ah, the 30-day notice after move-out.
Exactly. That 30-day window the landlord has after a tenant vacates to either return the full deposit or send a notice detailing why they're keeping some or all of it. That notice can now officially go out via email, assuming the addendum is in place.
Wow. That could potentially speed things up a lot, especially if someone's moved out of state.
It really could. It makes timely communication potentially much easier for the landlord and gets the information to the tenant faster, hopefully reducing disputes.
That's a potentially huge impact. Okay, what about something seemingly smaller but still important for communication, the landlord's address disclosure, section 83.50?
Right. If the landlord needs to update their official name or address the tenant uses to send their notices, those changes can now be communicated to the tenant by email. Just streamlines keeping that official contact info up to date.
It makes sense. Administrative efficiency. Now, what about maintenance, particularly things like pest control, fumigation, where tenants might need to temporarily leave?
Yes. Section 83.51 covers that, specifically for multifamily units like apartment buildings. If a landlord needs tenants to temporarily vacate for, say, extermination, the law mentions up to 4 days, with 7 days notice, that required 7-day written notice can now be sent via email.
So coordinating those kinds of necessary but disruptive maintenance tasks could become smoother.
Potentially, yes. Faster communication for necessary work.
Okay, finally, let's hit the really high-stakes stuff. Lease termination notices, section 83.56 and 83.575. This covers everything from not paying rent to, standard end-of-lease notices. Big consequences here. How does email fit in?
This is definitely where the digital shift carries significant legal weight. The general rules for delivering written termination notices, specifically those under subsections 1, 2, and 3 of 83.56, which deal with non-compliance, failure to pay rent, that sort of thing.
The serious notices.
The very serious notices. They now explicitly include emailing in accordance with Section 83.505 as a valid delivery method. And it's absolutely crucial to understand the law explicitly states these notice requirements cannot be waived in the rental agreement. Even with this new email option, the core notice rules stand.
Cannot be waived. That's critical.
Very critical. Also, think about leases with specific end dates. Section 83.575. If the lease says a tenant has to give notice before they move out at the end of the term.
Right, like 60 days notice or something.
Exactly. Any related notice the landlord might need to send, maybe confirming non-renewal or reminding the tenant about potential liquidating damages if they don't give the required notice, those landlord notices can also now be delivered by email.
So it cuts both ways on those end-of-lease communications.
It does. It integrates email into those standard processes.
Okay, we've really broken down the how and the where this email option applies. Let's try and crystallize the so what for people listening. From your perspective, what's maybe the single biggest practical change a landlord needs to think about to use this well? And flip side, For tenants, what's maybe the number one pitfall they need to avoid?
Good questions. Okay, for landlords, I think the biggest shift is operational. It's moving beyond just thinking, oh, great, I can email this now, to actually systematizing your digital communication. This isn't just about convenience, it's fundamentally about digital compliance. You need rock-solid systems for keeping records.
Like we talked about, the proof of transmission.
Exactly. Proof of transmission, proof an email wasn't returned undeliverable, having an organized, searchable archive of every official notice sent this way. And think about cybersecurity, too. You're handling legal documents electronically. So while, yes, it can mean faster communication, maybe fewer arguments over if a notice was received, it also means faster potential liability if your digital house isn't in order. You need a bulletproof digital audit trail, not just a paper trail anymore.
Makes sense. Systems and process are key. What about for tenants? The potential pitfall.
For tenants, honestly, the biggest message is vigilance. Your designated email address, the one you put on that addendum, it's now a legal gateway. It's not just for newsletters or social media notifications anymore.
It's for potentially eviction notices.
It's for potentially critical legal notices. That means the email account must be active. It must be checked regularly, not just once a week or once a month. Make absolutely sure it's not some secondary account where important stuff gets buried or goes straight to spam. You have to actively manage it. And really internalize that deemed delivered rule. If the landlord sends it properly and it doesn't bounce back, legally you've been notified, whether you actually opened it or not.
That's a heavy responsibility.
It is. But remember, tenants have that clear right to revoke consent for email or to update their address if needed. You must use those rights if your email situation changes. Missing a crucial notice because you forgot to update your address or stop checking an old account, the consequences could be severe. So proactive attention to that inbox is just non-negotiable now.
Yeah, it really sounds like the technology might make things faster, more efficient on the surface, but the human element, attention, organization, understanding the rules, that becomes even more critical, doesn't it?
Couldn't agree more. Technology is a tool. How effectively it's used depends entirely on the user's understanding its implications.
Okay, so let's quickly recap our deep dive today. Florida's Senate Bill 1164 is set to really shake up landlord-tenant communication. It's making email an official legal channel for notices starting July 1st, 2025.
And the absolute key takeaway, the thing to remember above all else, is that mutual, explicit agreement via that specific addendum is essential. It's not automatic. And the success of this whole system really hinges on both sides. Landlords and tenants being proactive, managing their designated email addresses carefully, and truly understanding what electronic delivery, especially that deemed delivered part, actually means.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to mull over. Given that these official, sometimes life-altering legal notices can now depend entirely on an email, what new responsibilities does that put on you? How do you ensure your designated email account isn't just active, but also secure, regularly checked for spam, properly backed up so you don't accidentally delete something crucial? It's really not just about hitting send or receive anymore, is it? It feels like a whole new level of digital diligence is required from everyone.
It certainly is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Well, that wraps up today's episode of RealiCare Reports, where real estate meets real life. For more updates, tools, and insights that will help you buy, rent, or invest with confidence, be sure to follow, subscribe, stay connected, stay informed, and stay ready. Until next time.